So right now, the review season, well, specifically for me, is I thought it'd be fun to do a theme. 2022. You know, this time with me mainly focusing on filming, I wanted to make sure that I, basically spice it up, not just review the same old comic book superhero movie. You know, let me show you more of the side of Carlin, infantile, if you will. So this month is indie movie so good they got banned in other countries. And the first movie that was on my list, so many people told me to watch it, so many people requested it for me, not like on the media, I'm talking about in real life, but you know, it was worth a watch. So I chose to review the movie Martyr, well, specifically Martyrs, and I don't know what the extension of that would be, but I chose the 2008 version of the film. Now, why I chose that version was because, well, I'm on Tubi right now watching most of these independent movies, and there was a 2016 version, 2018. I chose the oldest version so then I can like pick up and then watch different versions along the way. If there's like a difference between the versions or whatnot, like if there's like, well, 2016 one was better, 2018, or I seen 2008 one, and I'm giving my thoughts. Also, this goes without saying, for these indie movies specifically, for this series, all of these are spoiler reviews, so you have been warned. Spoiler warning is ahead if you do plan on seeing these movies, but, let's get back into the review. Now, first and foremost, Martyrs is not for, it's not a family movie. I'm going to be pretty honest with you. It is a very, very, I want to say, artistic movie. It's graphic, but it's also, well, the version I watched was in French. So I will say, like, for a foreign film, it had me hooked mostly on, like, the premise because, like, within the opening, first of all, in the opening, it's tragic because you see a little girl running out of, like, a hospital or some old shit, and I'm thinking, like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to set up to where, like, I'm thinking, like, how do I describe it? Something with, like, a spiritual possession movie or some shit. Like, like she was running away from, like, a spirit, but it was actually very visceral, brutal, if he even. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a montage right after you see her running and shit, and it's like they're explaining that this little girl's been going through abuse. She's been dehydrated, malnourished, a whole bunch of like she's been through it all. And then you also cut through the beginning intro where she's in an orphanage and she meet this one little girl. There's Lucie, and there is, what was the other one name? Anne. There was Anne. Sorry, it's my brother. But so there's Lucie and then there's Anne, and they pretty much grew up together. They been damn near like the Golden Girls. You know what I'm saying? So now we cut to the very like as after the prologue, and now we're in the introduction. And you see there's a happy family. They eating breakfast, kiki, ha ha. And then, like, the dad get the door, and then motherfucking, was it Lucie? Lucie pulled up with the motherfucking shotgun and aired that bitch smooth out. I was like, damn, bro, because the dad opened the door, and I'm thinking, like, okay, you know what I'm saying? I would show you scenes, but, YouTube's really strict on copyright. But even then, that is a very brutal scene. It's not going to let me show it. But in the meantime, between time, I will say that she came in, and I'm thinking, like, she is a bad motherfucker, because she coming in like the fucking Terminator, dumping the whole clip. She got that Elmer Fudd Thule, and really just husband, clap, dumped him out. The wife, clap, dumped her out. The fucking son, hey, you know about your mom and dad? He ain't say shit. He ain't say a damn word. She in there like, don't be a bitch, don't be a bitch, don't be a bitch. And then she like, fuck, up to Thule on him, dumped his ass out too. And then she called her homegirl, she called Ann on the phone, like, she hitting her up like, Ann, you know I went through it. And like, oh shit, you resist, what the fuck did you do? You know what I'm saying? And then, you know what I'm saying, through all the circumstances, you see like Lucie going like she's starting to see like a demonic figure and it starts scratching her on her back and shit. And we're thinking like, oh, so now it's talking about spiritual possession shit now. So I'm like, oh my god, now it's starting to get interesting. First I'm thinking like it's a story about abuse and how one would like cope with going through like trauma like that, you know what I'm saying? And then the next moment I'm thinking like, okay, now it's like that with, you know what I'm saying, horror possession and shit. But it also had suspense and it also had action. The action was also, again, it was brutal. You see people get tortured, people getting their ass whooped, but it's not like in the sense where it's like, okay, how should I describe it? Near the end of the film, a woman gets skinned alive. I mean, skinned alive, and she's still breathing and blinking and shit. Like, again, I will show you. But like I said, YouTube with these strict ass guidelines. But so far, I will say my biggest praise is how the cast make the script work. The cast take the premise of this film and they make it work, no matter how outlandish, no matter how like extreme, no matter how brutal, visceral, they make that shit work. Like they roll with all the punches and I commend them for that shit. And even though like some of the scenes are very hard to look at for some audiences, they pull it off. You know what I'm saying? Nobody fold. There's no like faulty acting. And this is like, I'm thinking like, all right, there might be like an English dub version or whatever, but no, foreign film, English subtitles, and everybody, you know what I'm saying, they all put their heart and soul into their performances. However, the only like negative I will say about the film specifically is like they never really like give like they give a reason to why all of it's happening, but they're not really like abrasive. Like certain situations, it's like, all right, now I'm gonna like I gotta take it for my own interpretation. You know what I'm saying? Leave it for ambiguity. Like for example, when Lucie starts seeing the hallucinations of which ended up being a kidnapped woman that she left behind when she was younger, when she started seeing the hallucinations, it's like, okay, how is this like some of the things they start explaining like, okay, now it looked like somebody's grabbing her and like peeling and like cutting her arm and shit. All right, cool, they explain that. But like there's other scenes where it's like, again, like I said before, she's like the hallucination was scratching her back, and it's like, how the fuck did she scratch her own back? And I'm like, who? They ever gonna explain that until like the most tragic part when she up and run and then she fucking killed herself? And it was like what the fuck? Like the movie cuts from like, and I'm not saying that like in the cinematography for it was amazing. It was again breathtaking because I'm like it went from oh shit this is happening to like holy fucking shit what the hell did you just do to then like okay. Now, one more positive on the film I will say is that I love the score. The score built the immersion for the story. Like, I really felt like I was inside of that household when all of the drama and all the chaos endured. Like, when the scenes mesh together and you seen the characters go from place to place, for instance, like if you found Lucie going through a situation and it was either something that she was going through mentally or physically, I felt like I was there through the score and through the tension that the atmosphere and the acting was building up to where it was like shit, I'm trying to be like third person, like, damn, don't do this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whenever they do whenever they do something that's like either morally uncompromisable or it's like, you know what I'm saying, you see a character going through like they're struggling and you feel like, oh man, I want to like help in a way. I want to like, damn, I feel sympathy for that character. You know what I'm saying? You really feel that. The only other negative I will say is that, okay, remember earlier when I was saying like they don't really give a reason to like why it's all happening. For example, like there was like when I said earlier how Lucie came in and she had shot the shit out the whole family. Well, the fucking wife had survived and shit, but she survived. But she had came back to like life randomly through the film. Like we going through the beginning, thinking like, okay, she dead, the family dead, and later on this bitch come back like a fucking zombie, and I'm thinking like, what the hell? When are they gonna ever explain how she survived getting shot straight up with a? And again, another spoiler. Now they said the reason why she was going through all of it was they were trying to find out what happens when you die. Now again, this is what happened. Like when I remember when after, like I told y'all, she gets skinned alive at the end, and she fucking lives for some reason. Now they don't even explain how the fuck she survived. They just literally go off of like, okay, she seen what happened once you die, and then she told the head mistress lady, who I'm assuming is in charge of like the organization responsible for all that torture and shit. And then once she tells her, she just be like, ups and fucking kills herself, and then the movie ends. And then it's like, am I supposed to go off of like interpretation, like ambiguity, or is there like I gotta look deeper into it? You know what I'm saying? Now I love a film that makes me think, but if it's like satire versus nonsensical bullshit, then I'm gonna think like either I'm an asshole for not interpreting it the right way, or maybe I'm not like looking deeper into it. But for the most part, this is an amazing film. I would rate this personally 9.3 out of 10. I will say, like I said, besides my only like my two negatives about the film, this is an amazing film. Again, great cinematography, great acting, and I'm gonna watch it again to get more of a deeper understanding of the message behind the film. And I'm also gonna post reviews sometime in the future about the other versions of like Martyr. Because like as I said, there was like the 2016, 2018. I'm gonna watch those versions, but as it stands, this is the review for Martyrs of 2008. I've been your host, Sakat, and if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Say hi to Big Smiley.